What's up, everyone? It's pro professional Mike McClelland here to talk winter jerkbait fishing. And one thing about it, I don't ever lay a jerkbait down. I mean, you look in my boat and probably 11 months of the year I've got a jerkbait tied on somewhere in my boat, or there's going to be a box of jerkbaits in my boat. And winter's no different. I mean, one thing about it, to me, wintertime is probably the time that you're most apt to catch the biggest bass of the year that you're going to catch. And there's a couple reasons for that. I mean, number one, in my opinion, is just the lack of pressure. I mean, our lakes and creeks and rivers and streams these days have become so busy that these fish just get a tremendous amount of pressure. And when you get out there in the winter, I mean, a lot of days you can be out there all by yourself if you pick the right day, and it's not that hard. And to me, wintertime jerkbait fishing, it's a slow, methodical process, but it's one of those situations that you're apt to catch, five that'll weigh 25 pounds if you're fishing the right body of water. And your opportunity to catch an 8 or 10 pounder might be better then than it's ever been throughout the course of the year. The big thing about wintertime jerkbait fishing is understanding that these fish are cold-blooded, understanding that these fish are not going to move fast to get a bait. And, and when I talk about that, I'm talking about more in the Midwest. If you're talking about wintertime fishing in Florida or wintertime fishing deep in the South, it's a little bit different. But those fish still are probably the most lethargic that they are in any other time of the year. And my number one choice for wintertime fishing is going to be either this new McStick 110+1 or the McRip 85. And the reason for that is typically in the winter, I mean, those fish are going to be at the deepest stage that you can probably reach them with a jerkbait. It'll still astound a lot of you how shallow and how many fish don't ever go deep. I mean, they stay shallow relatively all year long. And those are the fish that you're really fishing for with the jerkbait in the winter. Those fish that live in the rivers, that live in the backs of creeks. Those fish that they're resident fish. They're not main lake fish that migrate around and move a lot. Those fish just live there. And once you determine, the right places to catch them, it can really be pretty easy, and you can find them really grouped up. That's the cool thing about wintertime jerkbait fishing, is the simple fact that when you find a school of them, you generally aren't going to pick one or two off. You're going to catch 4 or 5 out of the same tree or out of the same little creek channel bend, or maybe off of a point that's got a creek swinging right up close to it. One of the biggest keys to me in the wintertime for being successful throwing a jerkbait is, number one, being slow, taking your time, don't get in a hurry. I mean, pick an area of the lake and just really focus in on it, and don't try to cover a lot of water. You got to pay close attention to, like I said, your electronics, making sure that you're fishing an area that has a lot of bait fish in it. And once you determine, where those bait fish are positioned and what depth the bait fish are positioned at, is going to really clue you into how you need to be fishing for them. If you're seeing fish that are suspended in treetops, I mean, that's probably my favorite way to catch them in the winter, is those fish that suspend up in treetops, just kind of hanging out. They're taking advantage of those sunny days where they get the warmth of the sun, and they're just kind of being lazy and hanging out there. And a bait like the 110+1 and the McRip 85 are going to be my 2 best choices for wintertime jerkbait fishing. When it comes to wintertime jerkbait fishing, that is the time of the year that I definitely am going to make sure that my bait actually is sinking just a little bit. And it's easy to do. I mean, all you have to do is just, take your bait, just pitch it over the side of the boat, pull it down, stop it, and you want to put enough weight on that bait so it actually slowly sinks in the water column. And when I say slowly, I'm talking about it may fall a foot in 30 seconds, but you definitely don't want that bait to rise, and you're going to be a lot more successful catching them on a jerkbait. There's a couple different ways you can accomplish this. Most of the baits, I mean, they're built to suspend, but the water temperature is going to affect how buoyant this bait is. If the water is super, super cold, it's going to take a little bit less weight to get that bait to suspend. As that water temperature warms up a little bit, the bait's going to become more buoyant, the water becomes less dense, and the bait tends to float up a little bit, so you may have to add a little bit more weight. I typically like to start by adding a bigger hook. The baits come with number 5 round bend gamakatsus, and I like to start on the front with a number 4. If the bait isn't quite heavy enough, I'll move to the middle with a number 4, and if I have to, I'll go to the rear with a number 4, and that generally somewhere in that hook change process, you'll find that happy medium where that bait will truly suspend. The big key, I think, there is you've got to make sure that bait, whether it's the 110+1 or the 110, you've got to make sure those baits are suspending proper in the water column. The biggest reason for that is fish are cold-blooded. I mean, they're not going to move any faster than that water temperature is going to allow or want them to move. I mean, they've been in, you know, upper 30-degree water, and they're not going to get after it. So the suspending characteristic of this bait is going to allow you to hover the bait right in front of these fish. I've used the analogy so many different times that, you know, if you just ate a dinner and you're pretty full and somebody hollers at you, hey, I got a plate of cookies, you want one? You're probably going to turn it down. But even if you're full and somebody comes up and waves that plate of cookies in your face and just kind of hangs it there, you're probably going to think about reaching out there and getting one. And that's the same way I feel like a stick bait works on a bass. When you pull that stick bait down and you stop it and you let it sit there and you count to 5 to 10 to 15, the longer that bait sits there and intrigues that bass, then you give it a little twitch or a nudge, that bass is eventually going to reach out there and get it. So that's kind of my analogy of why you want that bait to suspend. Another thing that I have really noticed over the years of fishing jerkbaits in the winter is generally more opaque colors work a lot better in the wintertime. I just think, you know, when that water gets cold and those fish are lethargic, you even notice that bait fish, even their color becomes more pale. So colors like Norman Flake and Dirty Bone, colors that have a more opaque finish, I think work a lot better sometimes in the wintertime, unless you're just fishing super gin clear water and water that, you know, you don't have much wind, you don't have much chop on the water. Those are going to be the scenarios where I do stick with the translucent colors a little bit more. But anytime you get cold, just off-colored water, opaque colored baits are going to be a real key. Wintertime jerkbait fishing is, again, equipment becomes so critical. I'm never going to throw a jerkbait in the wintertime on anything faster than a 5-to-1 gear ratio reel. I mean, I love this Bass Pro Shop reel, super reel for making yourself slow down. And in the winter, I'm probably going to use the lightest line that I'm ever going to use through the course of the season. The fish don't have a lot of spunk to them. Even a 8 or 10 pound fish, I'm not scared to land on 8 or 10 pound Sunline FC crank or even Sunline Supernatural monofilament, because you're going to be able to get the bait down deeper. You're going to be able to fish the bait a lot more effective, slower when you're pausing that bait. A really soft rod, you know, I mentioned earlier, a jerkbait rod can be anywhere from about 6'6" to 7 foot. I like a medium to a medium light action. I love the Falcon jerkbait rod and the Expert series. And focus on real specific places. You know, a isolated brush pile or one tree that sets out on a point, or a point that has a real defined creek channel or drop. And I think you're going to be a lot more effective catching fish on a jerkbait this winter.